I'd like to, first of all, welcome everyone to the Graduate Environmental Mentoring Scheme briefing, GEMS for short, which is being hosted by the Hong Kong Institute of Qualified Environmental Professionals. Today's briefing, we will cover 4 sections. First, an introduction to HKI-QEP itself, as well as the GEMS scheme. Secondly, we will provide an overview of the roles of the mentors and mentees. Number 3, we will provide an overview of the mentoring process and some tips and best practices. And number 4, the upcoming activities and any program support you may need. We'll be providing some context. And so let's start with the introduction to the HKI-QEP and GEMS. As most of you, well, especially the mentors, you'll know the vision of HKI-QEP is to develop Hong Kong as a center of excellence for developing qualified environmental professionals in the region. And our strategy has 4 parts to it. First, of course, developing a qualification process and registry of qualified environmental professionals. Secondly, creating a market demand for qualified environmental professionals. Third, strengthening environmental tertiary education so that it aligns with what the market demands are in terms of skill sets. And number 4, nurturing cross-disciplinary environmental professionals. So architects, planners, etc., could also acquire more environmental information to strengthen their own knowledge in their own fields. The Institute has had a history. Well, we were incorporated in 2015, but you know, it took 2 years for us to actually get organized and get incorporated. But since then, we have had 4 rounds of exams, and we now basically have 400 professional and fellow members. In fact, almost 500 in total. We are recognized by 45 business entities at least. In fact, there are a few more companies who are now starting to incorporate HKI-QEP as a qualification for certain levels of environmental positions. We are also recognized by the government in terms of the Development Bureau appointment of consultants for engineering and associated consultants, particularly on the environmental roles. And right now, our membership composition is, as I mentioned earlier, just under 500 members. So we have 492. Mostly you can see in consultancy, in government, and in the contracting business. And just so that I could provide in the next slide, just a little bit more on the different categories of membership. I think on today's call, most of you, because you are the mentees. I'm directing my message to the mentees right now. You are graduates, and so therefore you actually are eligible to apply for associate membership if you are interested in that. So please do feel free to apply and become an associate member, so that can start off your networking with the HKI-QEP members, especially the professional members and fellows who you will ultimately need to meet so that they will sign off on your application form to become a professional member in the end. So the next slide, as I mentioned, associate membership, basically, if you have obtained a degree in the environmental field and you have been working in the environment for not less than 5 years, there are application packages available. I think this link is a little bit outdated. We should update that, so we will do that. But please do sign up if you're interested in carrying on a career in the environmental professional industry. Next slide. And just so you know, the road ahead in terms of if you want to become a professional member, you will have to first become a recognized member of one of our institutional partners. And here I would like to introduce them. There is the Chartered Institute of Water and Environmental Management, which is CIWEM for short. We have the Environmental Management Association of Hong Kong, EMAHK, Hong Kong Institute of Acoustics, HKIOA, and the Hong Kong Institute of Environmental Impact Assessment, as well as the Hong Kong Institute of Environmental Protection Officers. You will have to become a member of these institutional partners before you can take the Part 2 exam to become a professional. And so this is an opportunity, and I'm giving you all a heads up as mentees that networking is critical. All right, next slide. So what is the GEMS program? Well, the Graduate Environmental Mentoring Scheme, or GEMS, aims to facilitate the progressive development of environmental graduates and augment the Environment Bureau's initiative under the Green Employment Scheme. GEMS will connect graduates and environmental industry professionals and employers, providing opportunities to share experiences and knowledge. The GEMS program will provide to Green Employment Scheme recipients, first of all, voluntary personal membership, a mentorship by our HKI QEP professional members or fellows during the period they are receiving the subsidy from the government. And number 2, guidance on the compilation of logbooks that document their environmental experiences and outcomes gained through the on-the-job training under the Green Employment Scheme with reference to Professional Assessment Part 2 rubric, which is covered by the HKI QEP qualification process. And so the objective of GEMS is to support mentees in developing the appropriate knowledge and skills in reference to the rubric requirements for becoming a qualified environmental professional. So as I said, the Part 2 is actually an interview exam. And during this interview exam for Part 2, you will be asked a number of questions and interviewed on these 5 aspects. First, the evidence that you provided on your environmental experience and knowledge on your CV and your application, you'll be asked questions on those just to verify the depth of what you've learned during the time that you've been employed in environmental positions. Secondly, awareness of environmental policy, legislation, and current issues. So it's not enough just to be very narrow and to know one topical area. It is important to also understand the general landscape of environmental policy and legislation that's going on in Hong Kong and in the region. Third thing is your ability to manage and your experience through the management of systems, projects, etc. So basically, we're testing you for management experience. And what do we mean by that? Well, first and foremost, the ability to make decisions and to make judgments. That's going to be very critical in us marking you for in terms of if you want to pass, you're going to have to show that you have such skills and experience in making your own judgment and making decisions. There's also a testing of professional ethics and conduct, and of course, your communication skills. The main goal to be achieved through the GEMS is for the mentee to acquire a better understanding of the environmental industry. So just in case you're excited, but sometimes you don't know for sure if this is the industry you really want to be in, at least you will have a better understanding of the industry itself. And secondly, for those of you who decide to continue to pursue and are passionate about the environmental industry and want to become a professional in this industry, then this GEMS program will provide a very good foundation for you to pursue your professional environmental qualification. And certain features of the GEMS, it is monitored and supported by HKI QEP for the duration of the Green Employment Scheme. We expect it to be mentee driven. So to all mentees here, you need to be proactive about what you can get from this program. This program, you will get as much as you put in. If you don't put in very much, you're not going to get much back. But if you put in more, you will learn more. Mentors will act as case managers. Mentee requirements will be matched with mentor attributes. So we will try to match mentors and mentees appropriately. We will provide, well, today is the mentor and mentee briefing. We will also be providing the logbook for you to document your environmental experiences and outcome gained through the on-the-job training. We also expect, during the program, you will have some confidential discussions. They could be in different forms, but there's no links to compensation, benefits, promotion, or anything like that. It's more about mentees learning and mentors also being able to share their experience to help mentees develop more skill sets so that they would be more prepared for the environmental industry. And the match can only be broken by the HKIQP on our decision. Although having said that, of course, things are sometimes a little bit unpredictable. But if there are any problems, the best thing is to come to us and let us know if there are going to be any issues between the mentor and the mentee. The benefits of joining GEMS from an individual perspective is to gain an understanding of the environmental industry, build a good foundation for pursuing a professional environmental qualification, enhance your career potential. Hopefully you'll enjoy your work more because you understand the context, and you will increase your networking in this field. As I mentioned earlier, networking is going to be very important because you're going to need to know people who will not only, guide you and give you experience and guidance on, what kind of skill sets you should develop, but you really do need to enhance your own communication skills in order to get across the different concepts you want your management to have buy-in into, or your peers, etc. And so this growing of your network and your own sort of personal growth is very important in terms of actually doing some networking. On the organization side, or companies that are supporting the GEMS, organizations and companies will basically have the benefit of supporting, extra support, free support for their graduate interns and training for them, nurturing their possible future leaders in environmental posts, strengthening the partnership with HKIQP, helping your company reinforce or give positive branding in terms of whether it's your CSR branding or your corporate sustainability branding, and increase the probability of you being an employer of choice in the market. And so now I think it is over to Grace, who will, or shall I take this part too?
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. So over to Grace, who will proceed with part 2 and 3, and Vincent will do part 3 and 4 as well.
Okay, thank you, Jeannie. Yeah, so in this class, I'm going to briefly go through an overview of the roles of mentors and mentees. So what's mentoring? Mentoring is a process through which an individual, the mentor in this case, offers professional expertise as well as support to next experienced colleague, the mentee. So the intent of mentoring is to shape a career that shows promise. Mentoring results in mutually beneficial professional relationship over time, and mentoring is an opportunity to give back to the company, industry, and community by teaching the next generation of leaders and innovators. The mentoring principles. So it's about equal partnerships with two-way learning and focus on growth and professional development. And we should have clearly defined goals, roles, expectations, and timeframes in the mentoring process. And also it should be mentee-driven. So mentee, please take ownership of your career. And both mentor and mentee could learn to value differences. I think that these key points, these key mentoring principles, I would recommend our mentors and mentees to review them before your first mentor and mentee meeting. What is the mentor's role? A mentor is a trusted guide who facilitates the growth of your abilities, enhancing your effectiveness and capability. So we expect our mentors to provide vision, to share experience, insight, wisdom, to act as sounding board and safety valve to our mentee, and also provide support, guide, and challenge, and provide reality check, most importantly. So mentoring may touch on coaching, teaching, and counseling. But the mentor is not a friend, because friendship can make it difficult to resolve issues between the mentor and mentee, not a therapist. Any arising personal issues should be linked back to work, and so also not a job coach or teachers. The focus is on maximizing your abilities, not on the job content, and not an evaluator of performance. Mentors enable and guide, not evaluate and judge. Your mentor is not your manager, nor will they take action for you. And mentor is also not an advocate. The role is behind the scene, encouraging and supporting you to take up opportunities. What about the mentee? The mentee should exhibit a positive attitude towards the professional development opportunities granted under the GEMS, through their commitment to the work and self-motivation to learn how to work and study independently and as part of the team, and develop enthusiasm, curiosity, logical thinking, reasoning, analytical, and managerial skills. This all would equip the mentee with the problem identification and solving capability required for professional development, and also ensure the truthful completion of your GEMS logbook. So we also expect the mentee will take responsibility for your own learning, give the relationship time to build, raise and address differences in style, expectation, etc. Mentors are all volunteers here. And also give it commitment, garbage in, garbage out. And also mentee should drive the process, including setting up meetings and accept challenge, try new things in different ways. And for things to change, the mentee, please consider making the change yourself. And also don't expect your mentor to read your mind. So please be honest and open in the discussion. So about the mentoring process and best practices, we also have some recommendation. So these are the 4 stages of mentoring. First, establishing, 2, embedding, 3rd, implementing, 4, review and closing. In the first stage, establishing, I think it will take around a month. So the aim is to set context and parameters and get to know each other and set ground rules for the mentoring process. So I think the most important is, after getting to know each other, it's important to agree parameters like the structure, how to achieve the GEMS goals, and the meetings, the frequency, the duration, the mode, and also whether you want to keep your discussion confidential, and also the logbook record, as well as other support. And also, it's important, we think, in the first stage to share nice in terms of needs, interests, concerns, and expectation. So for nice analysis, what are my needs as a mentor or mentee? What are my interests? How can I contribute? What concerns do you have about mentoring? And what are your expectations as a mentor and mentee? So I think in the first meeting is, it would be a good way for both the mentor and mentee to go through this question. Some tips for the first establishing stage. You could prepare the element you want to discuss in advance, and also write down what you have both agreed, and also detail the confidentiality will build trust. And don't skip this because you're keen to start. It's important to set the ground rules, and also establish equality, encourage openness, not politeness, and be aware of your positional power for the mentor. And also keep reviewing, building, and refining the agreement, and allow time to explore and refine. And this is about building a relationship, not negotiating. So in the second stage of mentoring embedding, we suggest to do it in the 2nd and the 3rd month, is to identify a rationale. like introducing the rubric requirements of becoming the QEP, knowledge and skills enhancement, career development, working style effectiveness, etc. I think normally we would recommend like general knowledge in the first few months, and then some specific skills like project management, technical training, maybe like air quality modeling in the following month would be a good rationale to set. And also identify key result topics and focal points of the mentoring process, and develop an approach and strategy to reach those goals, and also review logbook on regular basis and agree milestone for end result. Strategy may include specific assignment after each mentor or mentee meeting. And some tips open up for opportunities, possibility like different channels of learning and options for professional development, etc. Establish trust and explore to uncover significant, not superficial issues. Summarize to firmly agree on end results, and look for the mentees' blind spots that may include like presentation skills or questioning techniques, etc. And write down agreements or plan in the logbook, and identify areas which are outside your expertise, and plan to refer a mentee for advice. And in the third stage, implementing, that we think might take from the 4th month to the 17th month. And these are some of the key action items during this stage. Please explore deeply the issues, and also it's important to close off issues that you discussed and explored, and review and recognizing progress, building the relationship, guiding, not directing, ask, not tell, and avoid giving advice. Mentee must decide, and keeping to the agreement that you set at the beginning, and giving and receiving open feedback sensitively, setting new goals after reaching milestones, and identify confidence versus competence. And it's something that mentor usually could help the mentee is to unlock some confidence versus competence issues, and also making confidential notes or record, and breaking down complex issues into chunks to solve it. And the last stage of mentoring, review and closing, that we hope it would, we expect it would happen in the last month, to complete the logbook for the mentor's endorsement, review the mentoring process, experience sharing, comments and suggestions for the further improvement. Please also provide comments to HKI QEP after your discussion, and also ending the mentoring process. Some tips for the last stage: please also review your expectation that you may have written down at the beginning, the next analysis, and describe the facts tactfully, how you say it, without personal judgment. And also don't blame when there are mistakes, because mistakes happens, and don't be tunnel vision. Review the whole picture, and also brainstorm possibility and identify what-if scenarios for future professional development, and also record the closing meeting with review points. We also like to remind you about some potential pitfalls to avoid during the mentoring process, like solving the mentee's problems for them, doing the work for the mentee, reaching confidentiality. Even if you are familiar with the mentee's boss, I think maybe it's better to first set out the confidentiality requirement and see if they want you to disclose some information to the manager. And also unfairly advantaging mentee, such as career opportunities. Mentor talking most of the time during the meeting, and mentee becoming dependents are also some common pitfalls we should avoid. And also telling, criticizing, giving advice which work for you, and becoming counseling sections of talk list. Okay, so Vincent will take over from here.
Okay, thanks, Grace. From this part is about the meetings arrangements between mentors and mentees. These are just the guidelines, and nowadays technology allows you to have various ways to interact with each other easily and conveniently. And we expect the first meeting should be face-to-face or online meeting. And we also expect at least one face-to-face or online meeting per quarter. At least we need 2 hours minimum per month. And all these contexts is up to your arrangement between the mentors and mentees, and maybe 1-2 hour sessions each month, or 1 hour each fortnight, or maybe weekly phone contacts or WhatsApp contact, or you use video conferencing, or you can combine any according to your needs. And also we can reserve emailing for, you may reserve your emailing for additional support or for submission of documents or transfer of bulk literature or whatever references you may need to exchange with each other. So we have some tools for the mentees. The first one is the mentoring checklist, and the second one is the major one, the GEMS logbook. For the mentoring checklist, the first thing you have to decide is on your status in your job role. You have to see your goals and targets to be achieved, the pitfalls you must avoid, the approaches you may need to modify. That must be dependent on how you work with your projects or your goals or targets. And also the skills, abilities, or qualities to improve. So, and the opportunities to read. So all this depends on your development over the process of your GEMS process. So these checklists may change over time or whenever you have your discussions with your mentor or between the mentors and mentees discussions, these may change or refine. So during the discussions, you can have these checklists as a reference to understand your key learnings, to have your specific actions to improve your performance or learnings of these areas. And also you can set your target time to finish your task for these learnings. So comes to this part is the GEMS logbook. This actually makes reference to our professional assessment rubrics on our requirements for becoming a qualified environmental professional. So from here, you can see the first one is on your environmental experience and knowledge acquired in your mentoring process. And also you can discuss with your mentors. The mentees could discuss with your mentors on how or the extent of your learning through your mentoring process. The second part is on your awareness of environmental policy, legislations, and current issues. You may develop your skills or an awareness of your sources of these informations, policies or legislations from websites or public documents or government announcements or whatever, or the Facebook of different people, to understand the environmental policies and developments in Hong Kong and how you can equip further in your development in your next stage to become a QEP. The third part is on the management skills and experience. And this part is more linked to your on-the-job involvement and how you interact with your mentors to develop more on how you manage your tasks, manage your skills in development in the process. The fourth one is on professional ethics and conduct. You may have various decisions to be made in your process or in your learning, and your mentors could provide experience and guidance on how the professional ethics and conduct play a part in your on-the-job duties and qualification development. And the fifth one is on the communication skills, and every mentees or mentors could, through the process, develop your communications accurately through your job experience, on the technical wordings or knowledge required in your conveying your message and ideas and decisions through the process, which is required in developing to be a QEP. Regarding the tentative activity plan and program support, we have the following parts. We have the mentor-mentee briefing now, and we propose to have a technical visits around December this year, but depends on the situation now. And we have a mentor-mentee event plus career talk in April next year. And also in the development of GEMS, we also have another scheme under the development, that is the environmental graduate training scheme. And we will take the time to develop and introduce this scheme in August next year. And also how these two, the GEMS and the UGTS, are linked to the HAIQEP qualification process. And also we have soft skill training near almost end of the this mentoring scheme in December next year. And also we have a GEMS graduation ceremony in March next, the year after next, in 2022. So in terms of the program support, we have a little bit of information here. So we have the mentor-mentee brief and the GEMS logbook to be provided to all the participants. And also we have the mentees here as taking part in this trial scheme. And so they are all encouraged to provide any reviews or feedbacks to HAIQEP to address any key issues and to facilitate further or more development in the GEMS and also in the EGTS in the future. And so your feedback is important to us for the continuous improvement of the GEMS program. And for any inquiries or troubleshooting issues related to GEMS, you may contact us at development@hkiqep.org. That's the dedicated email. And also we have a dedicated website to post all the latest information and news related to GEMS here. So now comes the Q&A sessions, and any questions are welcome.
Participants can raise their hands or type questions in the chat box if they're shy. But if you're not shy, just unmute yourself and ask your question.
So when will hi, it's Emma here. When will you complete the matching process? When do we actually start, as it were?
I think currently we have 67 mentee already applied for the program, and we have 47 mentors. So we are doing the matching now, and at the same time, we're also trying to recruit more mentors, and hopefully we could get it done. I think for the mentees that already apply, we will try to get it done in the coming 2 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. And also for the PowerPoint, we would also send to you later. As well, we have recording of this section we're going to post on the webpage as well. So for those mentees who couldn't join this section, they could still check it out on the website.
Okay, one more question. So we have the logbook that we we complete as we go along for HKI QEP, will that be sufficient to satisfy the government requirements for the Green Employment Scheme? Or is there something else that when the mentees need to submit for that?
Well, Vincent might want to jump in, but my understanding is the government doesn't really, my understanding is they don't really have a logbook or requirement in terms of the details of the role and what needs to be learned. But they probably will organize some classes or training classes as part of the EPD's Environmental Academy. So, you know, which I think also is on a voluntary basis, but maybe Vincent can elaborate.
Yes, the GEMS system is a voluntary mentoring scheme, which is outside the graduate environmental employment scheme. It's not a requirement under the graduate employment scheme, but we provide voluntary mentoring arrangement for these graduates so that they can learn more from the job taking up in that 18 months.
Thanks, David.
Any other questions?
More.
Oh yes, we received a question in the chat. So I want to ask about the visit. Any tentative details can be introduced now? Yes, I think currently, I think we're trying to arrange visits to an EIA project or green building project, but because of the pandemic, so we haven't fixed the dates yet. So we're going to release information about details a bit later. Yeah.
I also wanted to add, I think, you know, this is pretty, you know, fluid and interactive for it to be useful. And so if any mentors and mentees also have some suggestions, not that we can definitely accommodate them, but if you have suggestions on visits to certain places or to view certain processes and sites, please do feel free to let us know. Maybe we can arrange them. So, you know, we want to make the best out of this time because I think a year to 18 months is not a short period of time. But, you know, we can queue them up so that we can start arranging them as soon as the COVID constraints are lifted.
So I would like to supplement a bit about the technical visits. Apart from the technical visit suggest in the GEMS program, we also have other technical visits if we could arrange later so that all the GEMS mentees and mentors could join and has a good platform for exchanges and networking. So we will try to arrange if possible. So that's not confined to this one technical visit within the GEMS program.
Also, there are seminar and even some training course that we would arrange for other HKI QE members. We would also be happy to invite our GEMS participants to participate. Yes. Oh, that's another question. Will there be any guidelines in endorsing the logbooks of mentees? Like if mentees cannot acquire certain skills, I shall not endorse and sign? That's a very good question.
So, you know, I'm just thinking that the logbook can be a reflection of what has been attained and what hasn't. So in the sense, you know, I'm just thinking that sometimes due to the time and due to the commitments, even if someone has not been able, if a mentee has not been able to attain everything, that the mentor could also perhaps provide comments on room for improvement in the future, because I think that's an important thing for the mentee to understand is you know, where would the gaps still be, because there is a time limit for this program. So we may not be able to solve, you know, everything and develop everyone, you know, in 12 to 18 months. That's just a question or a suggestion. So Grace and Vincent, I don't know, and anyone, any of the mentors online, if anyone has any further opinions on that.
Okay. Regarding the guidelines in endorsing the logbooks of mentees, mentors are reminded that the GEMS program is to develop these graduates to be qualified environmental professionals, but they are still not at that stage. So we just want you to reflect what's being achieved through these logbook instead of assessing them if they actually meet the QEP requirements. So these are the logbook to suggest improvements in the future instead of judging the benchmarking against all the QEPs. They are just graduates. So we are just trying to reflect what they have learned in these 5 aspects.
Okay, maybe we go to another question we received in the chat box. Do mentee needs to indicate field preference for mentor-mentee matching? I think currently we ask the mentee to indicate the study area, like the course they study or they graduated from. But if the mentee wants to also indicate some preference, I think they could also include in the remark, yeah, for us to consider in the matching. Thank you. And then another question, actually it's a suggestion to have the mentee not just be fresh graduate, but maybe include environmental related experience less than 5 years. So any comments for this suggestion?
So, for this one, this is a good suggestion, but that may be covered in the EGTS later, because at this stage we are partnering with the EPD's Environment Bureau's graduate employment schemes that they have some kind of arrangements or requirements in being one of the participants in the GES. So at this stage, we are facilitating these young graduates to join this scheme. But maybe later on, we have the EGTS. We may recruit any graduates up to a certain years of experience to join the scheme and participate in the training process. And thanks for the suggestions.
Yes. Any other question or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more on Vincent's comment that basically the GEMS is a precursor to the EGTS, or the Environmental Graduate Trainee Scheme, which we will develop more over time. But actually the whole point was this GEMS can provide some feedback and some input and some learnings so that we actually can structure an even better and more appropriate environmental graduate training scheme in the future after the GEMS is completed. And so actually any feedback from both mentors and mentees during the process in terms of the, you know, things to improve, things that we could do to actually make it more useful for both sides or either side, you know, this feedback is very, very welcome. Do you see any more questions?
Yeah, that's, sorry, I just saw 2 more questions in the chat box.
Okay, good.
Okay. The first one is for the requirement of the professional. If my bachelor degree is not environmental related, so I take a relevant minor. If my work is sustainability related, am I qualified to take the exam in the future? Alexis, do you want? Alexis,
depends on what is their current. What was their degree? They didn't
just
say.
said not environmental.
Not environmental, but what type of degree?
Alexis, you have to sit closer to the mic, Alexis, because we can't hear you.
I think if the degree is science and engineer related, most likely yes. If it is more arts, so I would say most likely yes, particularly if your work is related. But I think we have to actually look at the bachelor degree to say for sure.
Okay. So maybe you could, send us an email to the inquiry. Yes, and then we'll reply to you. Okay.
For the second question.
Second question. I'm the graduate of environmental policy last year, but I'm not funded by the graduate subsidy program. May I know whether I can also be a mentee?
Yeah, this 2 years.
Yes, I think for the this 2 year should be applicable. So please also send us an email or contact secretariat if you're interested to become a mentee. Okay. We've got more questions now. So after 18 months, as long as the logbooks are completed, the scheme will end. Or to be more precise, it is a must to complete the logbooks in order to end the scheme. I think the logbooks is part of the features of the GEMS program. So it's, along the way of the professional development, especially in the initial years, it's important to record your learnings and also the development you have. So we would really recommend completion of the GEMS logbooks. Yes. Anything to say?
Yes, the GEMS logbook is the proper record of the whole GEMS program. And so completing the logbook is a very important expectation from completing the whole program.
Okay, so one more question, and we also saw a participant raising the hand. So, okay, do mentees need to provide our current position or job duties to match the mentor? We would recommend that to provide those information for the matching, And okay. Another question, may I know whether there is any recognition from HKI QEP upon completion of the program?
Recognition.
We'll know that.
Yes, I think apart from all the benefits that Jeannie has mentioned before, by completing the GEMS program, you have also demonstrated that you have go through this mentoring process and have developed your career, especially in the initial years. And also when you are going to apply for the qualification exam, I think this would also be considered as one of your experience in the application.
Yeah. And I just wanted to add on, remember there is number one, a graduation ceremony, so therefore you do graduate. And secondly, of course, you can write this on your CV that you've had this experience as an extracurricular activity or training or some sort of recognition. You can always put this in your CV. Although I must warn you, if you say that, your employer may say, oh, can we have a look at your logbook? So therefore, your logbook is very important because the whole point is that the logbook shows, because you've gone through this program, you know, what have you learned so far? So, or how much you've progressed, and look, because you've only been working for a year or two, it's you know, we're not expecting you to be able to fly already, but it's just understanding where you are, and so that your future employer can understand, well, what else needs to happen for you to fill the gaps, so or support you so that you can actually one day, after 5 years of working experience in the environmental field, that you can actually take the exam. So it is beneficial that you could write it on your CV, right? So even that, I think, is already a benefit to you.
Okay. So next question, how can the mentees indicate the preference after submitting the registration form? Because I think she forgot to fill in the remarks. So please just send us an email and contact us to let us know your preference. Okay, so another one, thanks for the great contents. I have a similar question on eligibility. The position I'm currently in is already funded by the government, so I'm not eligible to the graduate subsidy scheme by EPD. I'm a graduate of 2019. May I still be eligible for GEMS? Yes, you are. So please contact us if you're interested to become a mentee. And next question, may I know how you match the mentor and mentee in terms of their career development? Well, I think initially we have received some requests to match the mentor and mentee within the same company. I think that is one of the considerations upon a request. Another thing is the area that the mentor familiar with, and also you know, match with what the mentee is working on. I think that's also another consideration. Yes. And okay, I think we go through all the questions. Any more questions or comments? If not, I think Jeannie, want to close the briefing section?
Sure. Well, thank you all. Thank you all to the mentors and mentees for attending the briefing. Again, if you have any further questions, you know, this is not the end of our communication. Please feel free to send in those questions and comments and suggestions for improvement and how we can make the program better. And, you know, we will be learning as we go. And thank you for your support. And thank you for your time today.
Okay. Thank you.
Enjoy your evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.